Chess speaks for itself.
Yes, that's the one and only Mr. Hans Niemann, and he's only gone and done it again. Organised a 12-game mini-match classical time control against a fellow US chess grandmaster, Wonder Liang.
Very excited by the snack selection today. It's a little crostini. I have some cream cheese, smoked salmon, capers, and a little bit of red onion. Today is a good day.
That's the man himself. They're playing in Paris, France. This is game 3, starting with the explosive English. Then I'm going to bring you game 8, just finished today on the 13th of April. Rest day on the candidates. This is exciting chess in its own right. 2700 level chess battle. Pawn cube starts the game, also known as a pube, and it's really rock solid. You often see it shaved in one order or another. This is how things proceeded. Black's got the isolated queen's pawn, or IQP. You must learn to play with it unless you're a massive wuss. Now we see it kick on to d4. Otherwise it was about to drop. Attacked twice by queen and knight. This knight now sidelines itself. Does stop the pawn from being taken here, or does it? What's this? Is it a massive blunder? No, of course not. Not at this level. This is how you win your piece back. White's now got the legendary bishop bear. We know they work well together, but Black's got space. Active pieces. It's a dynamically kind of levelish position, but White a smidge better, of course, as is so often the case out the opening. Please excuse my voice, by the way, kind of lost it a bit over the weekend. We were away for a few days, there was way too much singing. Now we see bishop c4 here, takes on e3 and bishop recaptures. This wasn't forced, but it's how the game proceeds. As the board opens up, it helps the bishops, but this series of checks is a bit annoying. If you want to keep the queens on, you've got to back up with the bishops. It's not where they thrive. They want open diagonals. This is why I wonder is just asking a couple of questions, but finally Niemann starts unravelling. h3, bishop h5, Chewbacca's favourite move, the Wookiee one, lines up with the lady, so she moves out the way. We do now get a very, very boring change of the queens, but don't worry, there's bloodshed on the way. And before you can say, show me your chess moustache, who's rocking it better, Magnus or Agadmator? Do let me know your thoughts. Niemann gains space. These rooks double. No, they don't. This one backs up. I was reading it as this rook doubles. Why not do that? g4, bishop back, b5, knight e7, you drop a pawn. We solved the mystery. So this rook staying in contact. Instead we see this rook retreat here. Now white can gain space in a manner of ways. Niemann decides to activate the bishop, presumably keeping an eye on this knight jump. Now b5 is even more threatened, so a6, a5 renews it, or a4 rather. This knight centralises here and Niemann punches through with the pawn thrust, but after takes, he doesn't play the obvious. He starts with this, the bishop retreats, and then he still doesn't take with the pawn. He takes with the bishop. I guess going for some kind of imbalance, maximum pressure with the bishops. And when this one moves out the way, the rook pressures the square. First this pawn is hit. Bishop b6 hits a rook though. You don't have time to take with check. King h2 and two things would be under threat. You could play knight d3, fork these guys. It's an equal way to play the game. But a wonder moves the rook to f8. Looking a bit weird, but black's still solid. Rook c4 lifts. Knight d5 now. You know, if you take king h2, this one starts getting a little bit trapped. What if takes here? You lose it. Shows how well I'm seeing things today. You can't even touch that pawn. So because this is a bit trapped, black's in some trouble. Bishop d3 keeps things going, but okay, not the way to go. So this knight backs up, hits a loose piece. Bishop sides down and hits the rook. Saved. Rook cc1 now. Knight into f4 once more. And Niemann now sacrifices a pawn with rook e to d1. Why does he do it? Well, even though you drop it, king h2, knight back, king into g3, if you hadn't have played like this, if you'd have saved the pawn immediately and let the knight come to d3, then because it was forking the two rooks, white would have had to give up the bishop. Once you give the bishops, the game is dead equal. So Niemann's trying to keep it going despite giving a pawn. He sees the activity of his bishops on an open board, worth a pawn, exchange of the cannons over there, bishop d7 tickles some stuff, rook back pressures the pawn. Both players staying on top of the tactics here. It's good chess, and a wonder's up on the clock, and he's hitting a rook, but he can't yet win this pawn. If you do it, and black would now be 2 pawns ahead, then you run into these tactics. You're not quite getting checkmated, but after the knight backs up, choose your way to win. Bishop c5 or knight d7, both pick up a piece. So black can't touch the pawn. h6 therefore selected, given a bit of luft. Knight rotating, rook activating once more, knight b6, it's cagey stuff. This is a quirky little move. Watch this, a5 and knight into c2. Point being, you're now picking up that bishop by force, unless you start playing bishop d2, but looks very passive. Maybe there's even a tactical problem. Not knight c5, sorry, knight c5 rather. Not knight b4. I'm all over the shop. This would be putting tons of pressure on the bishop, and black is actually standing better now. So we didn't see the bishop back up. This was played. Now it drops. Pawn recaptures. Bishop a6 cementos everything, but Niemann soon gets the invasion going. He's got huge pressure despite being a pawn down. Knight rotating around. Pawn now covered here. And we're building now, building towards the climax, where one of these players makes a decisive blunder. This knight hops to d3. It's covered by the bishop. Knight into d5. Threatens a nasty fork. It's getting scrambly now. Very tense. Rook e5 saves it. e4's excellent. If the rook takes, then you go to fork town. Population a wonder. So this was played instead to cover the square. King f3 covers the pawn. Rook back. And it tempts white into winning this pawn. But again, we're in the back cave. Niemann doesn't do it. This is a dead level position. Very difficult to generate winning chances. So he goes for this one. Knight e5. Pawn is covered by the bishop. Now we see this threatened invasion. And so the king hits the knight. And a repetition is now offered by Hans. But is it taken? No siree. A wonder wants to play on with knight b4. Fair play to him. He's now putting the squeeze on Niemann. King g8's on the board. Now this pawn drops off here and everything is dead level until this moment here. How should black play? What's the way to keep it level? Well, something like rook g3 is actually best. Rook d1 even works. Soon swinging behind the pawn. But this was played. It looks so natural. But it runs into knight c4, hitting the rook and saving the pawn. And hitting the knight with the white rook. So it forces the rook to either here or into a4. This was selected in the game. There were problems wherever you went. You know, if you went to a4, there was knight b2 hitting the rook. And then still you've got problems. So this was selected. But now knight e3. And a wonder just resigns the game. He's got a big problem that he can't move the knight or the rook drops. And he can't move the rook or the knight drops. And if you try and go to say b2 with the rook, then you can push a6. Trying to save things like this is clearly not working. You can just take, run through the pawn. It's all she wrote. So a big blunder at the end on move 62, declining a draw. Niemann took the lead. Let's jump to this one, played today, 13th of April. We'll rattle through it a bit faster here. Again, it was a fascinating battle though. Catalan, how many of these have we seen? Party hat pawn formation from Hans, and none of the kind of standard looking moves are played. This is modern chess for you. Pawn h4, gaining the space. We love it. b6, is he fianchettoing the rook? No, bishop goes there, full of surprises. These knights enter the game. e4's selected, but after takes and knight takes, we don't get the standard queen's recaptures. Knight f6, queen backs up, game goes on. Knight g5 was selected. Now it looks like you're winning back this pawn by force, but it doesn't happen. Things get quirky. Niemann now plays the c pawn forward, and he opens his bishop to defend it a little, whilst also putting pressure on the centre. If you capture, well, you're just helping the knight enter the game. No time for b4 or knight d3 check. So you don't want to be taking. If you win the pawn like this, then there's f5, and it's a bit problematic. If you win the pawn like this, then it's not ideal because you rotate the knight. If you take with this one, then there's takes on d4, you've won a clean pawn. There's a lot of problems. So castle's queenside is actually the move, bringing the rook in the game, or what a wonder plays, d5. Now it's a fascinating line because black now stands slightly better, but of course white's got initiative, about to bring all the pieces into the game. Here they come with the 000. Lovely rook blasting down the file. We get bishop d6, best move, and you really feel that the natural course of the game had to be takes, queen takes, then something like this. And okay, the material's back level. White's got some centralised pieces. Black's got the pawn nicely blockaded for now. Who knows what's going to happen? But a wonder doesn't do this. He backs up with the bishop. Then we see takes on d5 with the black bishop. Niemann's now 2 pawns ahead here. Very risky business for a wonder Liang. And his best is to actually sack an exchange. Something like this. Hit this one. Maybe you play like this. One sample line. If h6, then you win a knight. So okay. That was probably the way to go. But this move was played. r2d2. A favourite of all Star Wars fans, but not what was called for in this game. Rook's doubling now on the file, but bishop d4 has everything under control. Because if you try for this, the natural continuation, you run into this, and you're getting embarrassed down the c file. So we didn't see this stuff. We saw king b1 looking to step away, but it's a big mistake, as you can see. What was better? Recapturing the e-pawn. This is the game. Queen e7 steps out the line of the rooks. Now we see this whole takes thing because the king stepped off the c file. Still rook ac8, still the queen slides to e2, but the problem now is black has fully consolidated and defended the e-pawn, which is making this knight look really stupid. Knight h3 is therefore on the board. Bishop e6. We get a ton of stuff going into the blender. You want to win the pawn, but you can't. You're going to drop a knight. There's also other problems like this, and getting mated, not just checked. So this was played. Now bishop f5, solidly cementing that pawn. Bishop h3 goes for the exchange. It's obliged. Queen entering the game. And after king a1, h6, h5. Not the best necessarily, although g5 was maybe on the way. Queen g4, a wonder resigns this position too. Because if you take those queens off, the knight's entering and winning a pawn. If not that one, then often this one's dropping. It's a real problem of an endgame here because the black king enters and you can't get round to these pawns properly to protect them. There's just no counterplay. Something like this just ends the game. It's all she wrote. So we run back up here. Taking no good. What if you try and duck it? Then you get mated. What if you try... I'm not sure really what's left. Queen e1 maybe. Then this pawn's dropping. So these are the big problems. That would be 2 pawns then dropped. And if this and this, you still can't take here because you've still got the back rank problems. Let's back it up here. I mean, the queen could block in that line, but the end game is lost. This was the final position here. Hans Niemann's now 2 games up in the 12-game match. There is time for a wonder to come back, but it's going to be close. What can we really say?
Chess speaks for itself.
Oh, and by the way, if you want a Chess Speaks for Itself t-shirt, looks something like this, then do check out the merch shop there. Plenty of other fantastic t-shirts in there. Supports the channel, gives you something great to slip on down the chess club. They really are nice material, nice cotton, look awesome. I've got about 6 of them here. Check it out. Hugely appreciate all the support, and have a look at the video on the screen if you want to see another epic game of chess. Cheers.